Hi there and welcome. This is Jennifer McGuire. I hope you're having a good week. Today I have another episode for you sharing some ways to create two cards at once. And I'll also be showing you the newest Altenew release. There are lots of great products, so I thought it'd be fun to show you each of them. I apologize if the sound isn't great. I do not have my microphone with me as I'm out of town, so I'm just using my computer. Okay, so I have a variety of cards for you today. And all of my cards are in pairs, and I'll share tips for making two cards at once. So let's get started with this pair of cards. The idea here is to stamp a background and then use a large die to create two cards from it. I'll be using the new Altenew Strength Blooms stamp set. This has two different sizes of flowers that are beautiful, nice layering, and then several leaves along with some wonderful sentiments. There are coordinating dies available for this. Now, when you get Altenew stamp sets, I highly encourage you to keep the packaging, as it has some example stamped layered images on the top, and then a layering guide on the bottom. So I always fold that up and put that in the back of my stamp pocket. I have a piece of white cardstock here cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm starting with the most solid layer of flower, and I'm stamping that first. Since I've never stamped these images before, I like to rub my hand onto the stamp just to kind of give it a little bit of attention before we add the ink. And I find that the stamp then stamps much better. And I stamped that with my lightest color of Altenew ink. Next, I decided to stamp the sentiment with black ink so I know where it's going to be and I can stamp all my flowers around it. Now I'm using a MISTI stamping tool for this example. However, you do not need a stamping tool for this technique. You could simply stamp these images with an acrylic block, but I'm using the MISTI stamping tool because it saves me quite a bit of time. After I stamped my first two flowers, I'm going to add it back into the MISTI and stamp my next set of flowers. So basically I'm going through and stamping the base layer of my layered images first. Then I'll go back and build the layers on top of it. Kind of going for a scattered look around my sentiment there on the bottom. When I'm stamping a background full of images, I either start in the middle and work my way out, or start at one end and work my way to the other end of the cardstock. If you do around the edges first, you might get stuck with like an awkward area in the middle where a stamped image doesn't fit. So I find it's best to, again, either start in the middle and work your way out, or start at one end and work your way over. Now it's time for the second layer of stamping. Now with this particular stamp set, there are 4 layers to the flower. So using the Altenew inks are perfect, since Altenew Ink's colors come in 4 shades of the same color. So there's a light, medium, dark, and extra dark of the color. You can buy the ink separately or together, and it really takes the guesswork out of matching up inks for layered images such as this one. So here I'm on the 3rd layer of the flower. This particular Strength Blooms stamp set is very easy to line up. You can see the outside edge of the stamp lines up each time, so there's no guesswork with it. Now you could use absolutely any stamp set to create your stamped background. You could even use a large background stamp, which would save you a lot of time. Whatever you do, I do recommend stamping your sentiment first so you can be sure that there is room for it. Next, I'm using 2 small dot images from the Altenew Folksy Floral stamp set. This is a new one that I'll use again later in the video. I'm using these small little dot images to fill in some of the white areas so I can have a more continuous background. You could use any small images, or you could even use a marker to do that. Next, I'm using the new Altenew Mega Hello die. This is an awesome die. It's nice and large and fills up the front of the card. And I'm die cutting that from our stamped background. Now I have 2 pieces for 2 cards. We have the negative space and the hello that has the stamping on it. So I trimmed down my negative space, this background piece here, and I'm adding it onto a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch white note card. So that will be one of my cards. Next, I die cut several hello die cuts from white cardstock. I'm gluing 3 of them together so there's lots of dimension to it. Then on the top of those stacked white die cuts, I'm adding my stamped hello. So this has some nice dimension to it. Now one thing we could do is glue this right back into its position on the card and just make one card from this background. That's an eclipse technique that many people like, and it really gives beautiful results. But today I'm looking to make 2 cards from this background. So I'll take that out and add it to another card. Instead, on this negative space card, I'm gluing down 3 hello die cuts that I've stacked together. And to give it a complete background look, I'm popping those stamped pieces into the openings on the letters. So now this looks like a complete background that I just added a white hello die cut to. Now with our floral stacked die cut, I'm just gluing that onto a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch pool note card. And I stamped a sentiment right underneath it that says, "And wishing you a beautiful day." That's from another new Altenew stamp set that I'll show you in a bit. Now I did also decide to create a matching envelope using the Altenew Mega Greeting stamp set. I really like the large sentiments on here, just like the die that I showed you, and it has little sentiments you can team up with it. Well, I'm using this large hello stamp image to stamp with a light pool colored ink onto the matching envelope, and I'll just write the address right over that sentiment since it's so light. For my other card, I decided to stamp the hello on the back of the envelope. It's really something fun and unexpected and matches the cards perfectly. So here are my 2 cards that I created from the one stamped background. And you can see it didn't take long to put together, especially that one on the left. So here you can get a closer look at the dimension of the stacked hello die cuts. I really like that large image there. Now this technique of using the 2 pieces from the stamped background, you can do with any large die cut. So you could do a circle, you could do a rectangle, you could do a heart, anything you have. I just find that the larger the die is, the more impactful it is, so that you can see the stamping on the die cut. Now you'll notice that I did stamp a few extra little dots on the hello since there was a white empty space on the E. So there's my first idea for creating 2 cards at once, and that involves using a stamped background and a large die. Now my second idea for making 2 cards at once is to simply create 2 that are similar but a different design so that you can have more cards in your stash. This one features the Altenew Party Time stamp set and die set. This is such a brilliant set. You have your sentiments that you can stamp and then also add a shadow stamped image so it looks like there's dimension to it. Then it has the stamps to create layered sequins, ribbons, and banners. And it really creates realistic looking images. I also like that this set works for guys, it works for gals, it works for anybody of any age. Okay, so I'm going to do the 2 cards at once. I have 2 pieces of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch white cardstock, and I'm just putting them into my MISTI at the same time to save time. On one of them, I'm going to stamp the Celebrate. I'm using my MISTI Creative Corners to help me make sure that I mount that straight in my MISTI. And on the other, I will stamp Party Time towards the bottom. I like to do this often where I stamp 2 sentiments at the same time. It just is little things like this that saves time and allows me to make multiple cards at once. After I stamp the sentiment with black ink, I'm stamping the coordinating shadow image with a super light gray ink. But I tried it out and it really is fun to also stamp the sentiment like in red and then do the shadow in yellow. You can really do fun things with it. Now to create some fun banners, I needed a little bit of guidance. So I used a bowl to trace kind of like little circles across the top of my little card panels here. And I'm doing this with light pencil just so that I can erase it easily once I've done my stamping. Now, I'll be honest with you, I was running out of time when creating these cards. It was time to get my daughter from school, so I did very quick stamping. I did not take much effort to make sure I lined everything up perfectly. You could if you wanted to very easily, but I was trying to be quick, and you'll see that my stamping and layering is not perfect, but it really doesn't matter. I don't think somebody's going to send the card back to you because it's not perfect. We're handmade, not Hallmark, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But I did do the base layer stamping, and then I used the coordinating layered stamp to stamp right on top. Next, I'm creating these little layered ribbon banners. These are super fun images. I'm first stamping the ribbon banner with a light blue ink. This is the turquoise ink. And I'm doing this on both cards as I go. Since I have the stamp out and the ink out and I'm ready to go, I might as well stamp two at once. So after stamping on this first panel, I'll move on to the second panel and do the exact same thing. Now this is the part that makes me giddy. Here is the second layer of this little ribbon, and look how, just by stamping that on top, you get such realistic looking ribbons kind of coming down from the top of the card. Such a fun stamp set. Next, I'm creating some green sequins, and I'm just moving along quickly here because I'm just doing quick stamping. So I'm stamping the base layer of the sequins here. It's just this circle image. Then I come in with the layer for it from the stamp set. And the layered image to go on this sequin is very simple looking. It's just two little blocks. And when I stamp it on to the circle, I can rotate it and stamp it 3 times. And you can see there that I end up with very realistic looking sequins. Each time I stamp this, I rotate it slightly and use a slightly darker color of ink. And there you can see the fun results that you get from that. Sorry I had to cut out parts of that, but my head kept getting in the way as I lined them up. Next, I used the Altenew Watercolor Dots stamp set, another new set. I used the cluster of dots image there on the bottom left to stamp some more interest in the background that kind of looks like confetti. This is another fun stamp set, and I just wanted to be able to show it to you here. I trimmed my panels down and added them onto black note cards, and I also glued some gems in the background for some added shine. So you can see, because I had my stamps and inks out, I might as well just stamp 2 cards at once. It's very easy to switch between the two when you're using an acrylic block. And now I have 2 birthday cards ready to go, which is something that I don't make enough of, so I'm glad I have these. Okay, so my next idea for creating 2 cards at once is to use a background die. I like background dies a lot, however, the price point is higher, so to use them to create 2 cards at once really is a good thing to do. For this, I am going to first ink up my background. You could do anything you wanted here. You could do stamping, you could do inking. I'm doing very quick inking using a ink blending tool and Altenew inks. You'll notice that I am not taking much effort to blend between the colors, just putting color down as fast as I can. Then I will take advantage of a Shimmer Spritz. By spraying this with Shimmer Spritz, it will help to blend the colors and you'll get gorgeous results. And the Shimmer Spritz leaves a beautiful shimmery shine. So I'm spraying that pretty generously, and then I will heat set it before using a background die to cut it. And look how beautiful that blending is. I'm using the new Altenew Gradient Stripes cover die. This is a great new die that's outside edge is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'll run that through my die cut machine, and I end up with the negative space and then lots of stripe pieces. I'm first adhering that negative space down onto a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch white note card. This will be my first card. Now for the second card, I am just adding a guide to my card. So here I'm just taping down another one of those background die cuts, just as a guide to glue down all of those stripes. Now I could have used the other die cut as the guide, but I didn't think of it and I've already glued it down to a card. So I just cut another one from white cardstock and I'll use that on a card too. So I applied adhesive to the back of each of my little stripes, and then I'll just pop them in place. Once I have them all positioned in place, I can remove that white die cut guide and I have them perfectly positioned. And you can still see that beautiful ink blending between, and they have lots of shimmer to it. So think about it, you can create any background you want. You could watercolor, you could use a background stamp, and then use a background die to cut the pieces for 2 cards. Next, I'm using the Altenew You Are Loved die. This is a new one that I like because it's large. On one of my cards, I actually cut off the words You Are, so I just have the large cursive Loved die cut. That way I can get more looks from the one die. On top of the word loved, I added a silver foil cardstock loved die cut. Found that in my stash, and I thought that would add some interest to this simple card. Now for the other card, I'm using the whole You Are Loved die cut, and for the top layer, I used a white glitter paper. Next, I'm using my MISTI to stamp a sentiment underneath the "You Are Loved" on this card. I wanted to use my MISTI just to make sure I got it straight because I didn't want to mess up the card at this point. I used my anti-static powder tool, stamped the sentiment with VersaMark ink, and then I'll add white embossing powder. This "You Make My Heart Happy" is from a Happy Heart stamp set from Altenew, which I'll show you in a little bit. Now for the other card, I silver heat embossed "You Are" above the word "Loved," and there we have 2 cards from one background. You can see the shimmer on the background pieces and also the white glitter paper that I used on top of the sentiment. By adding shimmer or glitter paper or shiny paper or any kind of specialty cardstock, you add a lot of interest to cards without taking much time. Now I did add a few little gems to the back of this one to kind of fill in some of the spaces, but these didn't take long to put together at all and is a great way to create 2 cards at once. Okay, my last set of examples is a way to create 2 cards at once that's the most obvious, and that is to create 2 of the exact same cards. For this, I'm using this Altenew Folksy Florals stamp set. This is such a cute layering stamp set. It reminds me of It's a Small World at Disney World, the fun design of it. And I thought it'd be fun to create a pair of cards using this because it's very easy to layer up. And I'll show you some tricks along the way. There are coordinating dies available for this set also. I've created 2 4¼ by 5½ inch white note cards. I'll go through and do the same stamping on each of them. Using a stamping tool makes this quick because you have the stamp mounted, so all you have to do is switch the card out. I'm stamping the bottom layer of the flowers with bright colorful inks. And you'll notice that I'm double stamping them just to make the ink colors a little more bold or to make them a little bit darker. That's a great way to get more out of the inks that you have. So I'll stamp all 3 flower bases right onto both of our note cards. When I'm done with that, I'm using a T ruler and a black pen to draw the stems. There is a stem stamp in the stamp set, but I thought this would be a lot faster, and that way I can make the stem longer too. Now I wanted to show you a fun trick for stamping these leaves. I have lots of leaves to stamp on this card. So what I did is I mounted the leaf stamps into my MISTI and stamped them. Then I shift my card up a little bit and stamp them again. I'll do that a 3rd time, and then I have my leaves stamped 3 times, perfectly positioned. And then I can repeat the process on the other card. So you can see it's quick to make 2 cards at once. For the sentiment on these cards, I went with the Altenew Mega Thanks die. This is another large die that's great for covering a card. So here you can see the 2 final cards. I just did stamping and layering of all the images in the Folksy floral set. It's very easy to figure out how to stamp and line up since it's in this layering guide in the packaging. On top of the stamping, I added the Thanks Mega die cuts. I stacked 3 white die cuts on top of each other, and on the top I added silver glitter cardstock. I like that stretches over the florals to make a bold, colorful card. And my cards are exactly the same, and I saved a lot of time by using a stamping tool. I hope these examples inspire you to make multiple cards at once. And I'm sorry I zoomed through some of them, but I did want to take some time to show you some of the other new products in this Altenew release, since there are some beautiful sets. So let's go through some of the extra sets. This is the Altenew In My Thoughts stamp set. It creates this beautiful layered tree along with gorgeous sentiments that are great for just saying thinking of you or also for encouragement and sympathy. So I did play with this a little bit but didn't get a chance to make a card, and I wanted to show you the example. Now what I was doing is I stamped the base of the tree with brown ink. Then I stamped the outline image with a darker brown ink on top. Then on top of that, I did the floral layer, and I actually used pink embossing powder for it. And here you can see what that looks like, and I hope to turn these into cards soon. It's a beautiful, unique stamp set. Another new one in this release is the Just For You stamp set. This has beautiful layering images to create a large flower. And I also like that a few different layered leaf images are included in the set. You can stamp the sentiment that says Just For You, or you can get the coordinating dies, which includes a U die cut. So you can team that up with pretty much any stamp sentiment you may have. Here you can see what the resulting flower and leaves look like layered together. It's nice and large, so it really fills a card nicely and would be beautiful to do with layered heat embossing. Next we have the Altenew Gradient Stripes Stamp Set. Now that large image there is big enough to stamp either horizontal or vertical on a 4¼ by 5½ inch card. So I like that you can use it in either direction. It'd be beautiful to stamp first with white ink on dark cardstock and then with the colored ink slightly offset on it. It's also nice for a subtle background that you just stamp with a light ink. Here's the Altenew Happy Heart Stamp Set. I used that sentiment earlier on a card. I like that this set has very thin lined images. You could do no line coloring with this very easily, or you could just maybe gold heat emboss this on colored cardstock for a very quick card. Very beautiful images here that don't need much else other than the stamping. Now the last 3 products in this release are fun. They're small stamp sets. So you can see I put them all together in one package here. But these are nice because the price point is smaller and you can use them with other stamp sets that you may have. I really like the layered butterfly and that hello image on the bottom there. Okay, so there you have a quick look at the newest Altenew release and some ideas for making 2 cards at once. I hope you find this inspiring and give it a try. If you are interested in the supplies, I made them easy to find by linking them below in my YouTube description, but you can also go to my blog for more photos and information. In the middle are a couple other videos where I make multiple cards at once that might be interesting to you. I hope you have a good day, and I hope to see you again soon.